identification.
You don't need to see his identification.
We don't need to see his identification.
He can go about his business.
You can go about your business.
Move along.
Move along. Move along.
What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quartering End. This is a video a little bit later in the day because I thought this topic was really interesting, and this video may be a little more op-ed than actual just news, because some interesting new procedures looks like they may be implemented at Disney, and I don't think I like them. I don't think I want to exist in this world where my space and my privacy is invaded at such a bizarre level, but I'm not quite sure what to do with it. So I thought maybe I'd talk it out with all of you, because this isn't the magical kingdom that I want to live in. Before I get into the story, I want to give a huge shout out to Displate and to all of you for allowing me to run their ads today. They've stuck with me in these uncertain times and given all of you a 30% off coupon, which is good for the next 2 days if you use the link in the description or the pinned comment. You know, with everyone sitting at home staring at perhaps some empty walls, I've never been happier to be partnered with Displate, which always gets new collections in, and just got a huge Mandalorian collection that you'll see go through my set cycle up in the upcoming weeks. They're high quality prints on metal that mount to the wall super easily with a magnet. You can swap them out, you can build collages, and so much more. I'm so thankful that Displate has continued to support the channel in these uncertain times. Tired of looking at some boring walls? Well, I've got a great solution for you that not only will fix that, but will also help support the channel, and that's Displate. These are high quality prints on metal, which also mount super easily to the wall via magnets, which allows you to build large collages or swap them out however you see fit and how often you see fit. Displate has great brands to choose from: Star Wars, The Witcher, Cyberpunk, Marvel, Angry Birds, whatever you could possibly be into. So I've assembled some of my favorites in the pinned comment below, as well as the link in the description. Check them out today, support the channel, and pick up some sweet new wall art. Now, things at Disney are bad. They're very bad. When we look at what's going on with the film industry, I was just reading an article that said the box office is going to be down at least 40% this year, year over year. That would be the best case scenario, and that's pretty shocking. I mean, I think they're probably going to, look at offsetting that with some of the streaming revenue. But look at this international box office. Top 10 markets fall 59% in horrible first quarter. What's next? The hit 2020 is going to take in terms of worldwide ticket sales is incalculable at this point. At some estimate, it will be at least $20 billion. Wherever the ultimate number lands, another offshore exec sounds, whether the theaters reopen or not, that money is not coming back. And if we look at even this article here, best case scenario, according to the Hollywood Reporter, down 40%. If theaters are closed for 3 months, domestic grosses may struggle to hit $7 billion, a 20-year plus low. By April 3rd, the greatest calendar migration in the 100-year plus history of the movie business was complete, as virtually all major summer tentpoles relocated amid everything going on right now in a mega game of dominoes that has reshaped 2020 and 2021. The shuffle revealed the industry's collective hope, at least for the time being, that moviegoing will return to normal levels by mid-July, evidenced by Warner Brothers sticking to its July 17th date for Christopher Nolan's Tenet, and Disney's announcement that Mulan, originally set for March 26th, will now arrive July 24th, while Warner Brothers has pushed back Wonder Woman 1984 from early June to August 14th. I have said this before, and I'm going to say it again. I don't think the movie theaters will ever be the same. The world just isn't going to want to gather in public like they used to. Not everybody. I'm not going to change very much. But there are people like my parents who probably will never go to the movies again. They'll just wait for it to come out on videotape. And you know what? It's cheaper that way. By the way, side note, what kind of absolute bonehead in Hollywood thought it was a good idea to charge $20 to $25 for access to films early? That's how much they wanted for Sonic. I think it was $25. And then what was the other one? There was another one. The Hunt maybe was still $20. That's for a rental, by the way. A rental. They should have been $5.99 or at most $7.99. $20 to $25 is absolutely idiotic, but this is Hollywood, right? At $25, nobody is interested in streaming your movies, or, well, maybe the top 2-3% of the world. Rest of people will now rely on very high quality screeners and rips and get them for free. Obviously, I disavow. If this scenario holds, North American box office will struggle to hit $7 billion this year, the lowest figure in more than 2 decades, and nearly 40% lower than 2019, per London-based research firm. The company estimates the domestic revenue will come at $6.82 billion if all 5,400 theaters stateside stay shuttered for at least a full 3 months, with traffic returning to normal levels immediately. If theaters are closed for 3 months but traffic builds slowly, the number could be in the $6.36 billion range. Virtually all of the 5,400 plus theaters in the U.S. were shut down in March. The best case scenario is that a 2-month closure, which will put revenue at $7 billion to $6.82 billion, depending on how quickly consumers return. I don't think going to the movies will be high on people's lists, and I feel bad for all the theater workers. I could tell you this, maybe I won't be rushing back to the cinema, but the second they go up, they reopen, I'm going to go in and get some popcorn or something. Remember that theater workers are largely minimum wage or very, very low or underpaid, in my opinion, for dealing with a lot of grouchy people in large groups. They'll need that. They need to open. The last time the North American revenue came in at $7.5 billion or lower was 20 years ago, according to the National Association of Theater Owners. In 1999, it was $7.3 billion. The studios have looked at the situation and realized they cannot fit everything in to the end of the year. They've had to accept that this year is going to take a hit. And with films like Minions, Rise of the Gru, the next Ghostbusters installment, all amount more than $1.8 billion in lost revenue this year. Globally, box office revenue clocked a record $42.2 billion in 2019. Most analysts don't have a larger or have a target number for 2020, but the estimated year-over-year drop in North America is an indication the movie business could be facing a worldwide total hovering around $25 billion, if not closer to 22. Wah, wah. I don't really care. In China, the world's second largest movie-going market after the United States and Canada, cinemas have been closed since the end of January. Studio executives and box office analysts caution that box office traffic may not return in earnest immediately. Also, caution that there could be more calendar changes if theater closures are extended. Now, they just extended Minnesota, I think, to the first week in May. I'm watching Minnesota because I'm in Wisconsin. I'm wondering when I can go back outside again. Wisconsin doesn't have it anywhere near as bad as just about anywhere else. It's definitely not a problem here. Obviously, people distancing and staying inside is helping keep it not a problem. But the question is, what happens when you open things back up? I still think that they're going to recommend people wear masks, and people, while movie theaters are open, may recommend that you don't go. I've joked on this channel about buying 4 seats, and then so I could have a seat, so I could guarantee an open seat to my left and to my right when I go to the theater. And this may be something people do. I mean, if I go to a matinee for $7 and the normal price is $14, I might consider buying a ticket on the end, or, you know, down in front or something like that, to avoid having people to the left and to the right of me. It's going to be interesting to see if things return. And then look at, this is an interesting thing too. Disney parks are considering more scrutiny, temperature checks after everything, with Walt Disney World and Disneyland temporarily shut down due to everything going on. Bob Iger is beginning to picture what Disney parks look like after this. In an interview with Barron's, Disney chairman and former CEO explained that in order for things to return to some semblance of normal, people will have to feel safe. And of course, what that means is forfeiting our individual freedoms and rights. Now, you could just not go to Disneyland. I understand that. Some of that could ultimately come in the form of a vaccine, but in the absence of that, it could come from basically more scrutiny and more restrictions, he said. Just as we do now bag checks for everybody that goes into our parks, it could be at that point we add a component where we take people's temperatures. For instance, he also added that he and Team Disney were very carefully studying what China did in terms of the country's return to normalcy. Quote, one of the things that's obvious is that they've conscripted a large segment of their population to monitor others in terms of health, he said. You can't get on a bus or a subway or enter a high-rise building there. And I'm sure this will be the case here when schools reopen without having your temperature taken. This feels invasive to me. On top of that, somebody can be running a temperature for a wide variety of reasons. In fact, some people actually just run hot. Also, this doesn't take into account people that are asymptomatic that can still spread it. It seems like a bizarre thing to be trading, giving up my right to freedom of movement without exchanging my temperature. And then what happens if a family of 4 flies down to Disneyland, their kid has a little low-grade fever, they can't go, they'll be turned around at the gate. What if the kid's a cancer patient or something and has a temperature? Are you going to have to prove that? Are you going to have to bring some sort of medical history? I don't like this. I don't like this direction. And I'm wondering what my viewers would think. I don't think I'm okay with having to prove I'm healthy to get into places. And this is very dangerous, a very slippery slope I think we're looking at here, where you're going to expect people to be trading their personal liberties to have freedom of movement. While, okay, you could argue that, Disneyland isn't a thing. Well, then what are we going to do? Are we going to have this at movie theaters? Are we going to have this at sporting events? Is it going to take 4 hours to get into the ballpark because everyone has to have their temperature taken and retaken? And then if they have an exemption, they have to have a card. Are we going to have people taking CV tests? The 1-hour tests to prove they're negative. I would think that would be a better thing, right? If I have a temperature, can I prove I'm negative for that? Now will you let me in Disneyland? I don't like the way this is going, to be honest with you. And some of you might argue that this is the thing that needs to be done, and I'm willing to hear that argument. But I don't think any of this bodes well to the movie industry or places like Disneyland returning in any sense of normalcy. And if there's anybody out there that agrees with this type of rejection of this, like me, who just isn't going to go, what's the long-term effect of that? I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.